Tonight on Reporting Scotland, people across the country take a moment to commemorate 3 years since Russia invaded Ukraine. A service was held at the Scottish National War Memorial at Edinburgh Castle, where the family of a Scottish man killed in Ukraine were among those laying wreaths. We hear from the young Ukrainians who've made Scotland their home.
What's your name?
Veronica.
It's Veronica. And where are you from?
Ukraine.
And do you miss Ukraine ever?
I do a lot, but I can come back.
Also on tonight's programme, concerns among farmers about the increase of deadly diseases on their livestock.
Lambing should be the best time of year, and you're looking at effectively your dreams in front of you just being shattered.
Michael has lost more than half his newborn lambs in one of the first Scottish cases of the deadly Schmallenberg virus. Staff at Dundee University begin 3 weeks of strike action over plans to cut jobs.
Coming up in the sport, Barry Ferguson returns to Ibrox as the club appoint their decorated former captain as manager until the end of the season.
Hello, I'm Laura Miller. Welcome to Monday's programme. It's 3 years to the day since Russia invaded Ukraine, and for millions of Ukrainians at home and abroad, including here in Scotland, the war is as raw as ever. Western leaders have used the occasion to show their support at an event in Kyiv, while Ukraine and America have been locked in negotiations over a deal to provide military aid. At a commemorative event held here, the First Minister says Scotland also stands in solidarity with Ukraine, while a Ukrainian diplomat has thanked Scots for their support. Stephen Gordon reports.
The Ukrainian anthem sung with pride and defiance inside Scotland's National War Memorial, the words laced with the sorrow of 3 years of conflict. A member of the Edinburgh Ukrainian Choir, Anastasia Boyko left her home in Kyiv a few days after Russian troops invaded.
I'm thinking about the people who died, and today I knew that my colleague from my college, he died 2 days ago in one of the cities in Ukraine because the Russian people just killed him.
Today's service was an act of remembrance for the casualties of war. Those laying wreaths included the family of Jordan McLachlan, the 26-year-old from Ardnamurchan, killed last month after volunteering as a Ukrainian army medic.
I was incredibly moved by my conversation with the McLachlan family today. I admire their courage in coming here. They've suffered unbearable loss with the loss of their son, and they've come here today. They've been part, I hope they've felt the embrace of Scotland and the warm embrace of our country over their loss.
The desire for peace that would halt the conveyor belt of grief is strong, but what that might look like is much less certain, with America so far content to negotiate directly with Russia without Ukrainian involvement.
We have to stick together in Europe and make sure that we are in solidarity with Ukraine so that we get the right type of peace, because peace under a dictatorship isn't peace at all.
As President Zelensky marks today's anniversary with other world leaders, the UK Prime Minister is preparing to travel to Washington to meet President Trump.
We want to play a sort of honest broker role between the United States and Europe to make sure that this existential moment for European and indeed world security is understood in all capitals by all players, but crucially, the Ukrainians need to be at the heart of whatever deal is done.
Around Scotland today, the support for Ukraine has been visible. The only certainty, the importance of what comes next. Stephen Gordon reporting Scotland.
Well, Scotland has become a second home to around 28,000 Ukrainians since the war began. There are now efforts being made to preserve the cultural connection refugees have with Ukraine, particularly among children. Our reporter Ellen Beaton has been speaking to some of those attending St Mary's Ukrainian School in Glasgow.
Привіт! 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 Давайте, ребята!
It can be hard for children to stay connected to their home country 3 years into a war. Schools like this one try and help.
It's important for Ukrainian children. It's very difficult, it's very hard, because every day children speaking English more and not using Ukrainian more.
Most of the children in these classes come from Ukraine's south and east. Switching languages seems to come naturally, especially to the youngest. What's your name?
Veronica.
Thanks, Veronica. And where are you from?
Ukraine.
How many languages do you speak now?
I speak Ukraine, Russian and Scotland.
Could you please tell me what your name is?
Zvenka.
What do you like about Scotland?
I got a pet over here, one of the cats. She's a black cat, a big one with fluffy hair. I had her for 4 years now.
What's her name?
Oji.
And do you miss Ukraine ever?
I do a lot, but I can come back.
Being immersed in Ukrainian culture is especially important to 12-year-old Mikhailo, who has cerebral palsy.
When the war starts, he was in the first class. It's very hard to learn online. That's why we are very glad that we have a Ukrainian school here.
The fear and chaos of the war's first days stick with her.
It was crazy days for us because COVID-19, big war starts. I don't understand, what should I do?
When the Scottish Government's super sponsor scheme opened, they jumped at the chance to come to Scotland.
The Scottish Government gave us a flat, and Mikhailo has his own room, his own bed.
But talk of a US-Russia peace plan has caused anxiety.
Trump say we stop the war, okay, but I don't believe Putin. I come back and he starts the war once again. And what should I do?
Even for those here in Scotland, this war still feels close to home.
I'll just talk in Ukrainian for a bit.
8-year-old Jvenka's father is a soldier, and she had a message for him.
Я тебе люблю.
And what did you say to him?
I love you, Dad. I love you, Dad, and I miss you very much. That's what I said.
That report's from Ellen Beaton. Now, lambing season can be a busy and stressful time of year on any farm, but now there's something else to contend with. A farmer in Ayrshire says he's been left devastated after a deadly disease, not normally encountered in Scotland, wiped out almost 2/3 of his newborn lambs. 5 cases of the Schmallenberg virus have so far been confirmed here, but experts believe dozens more farms may have been affected. Our environment correspondent Kevin Keane reports.
It's feeding time for pedigree breeder Michael Goldie and his surviving flock.
Oh, there you go. Doesn't want to be fed.
In January, the family were preparing to deliver 152 early lambs, the culmination of a full year's hard work.
My mum and I have been working with the sheep together. It's something that we do together since I was 10-year-old, probably.
Within days of lambing starting, it became apparent to Michael that something was wrong.
The minute you put your hand in, you could either feel the legs that were deformed, or because they'd no strength, muscle mass, their heads, they didn't present themselves in the birthing channel properly.
In the end, 92 of Michael's lambs died.
The lambing should be the best time of year, and you're looking at effectively your dreams in front of you just being shattered.
Michael sent 5 of his lambs to the lab for post-mortem testing. It confirmed that Schmallenberg was present.
It can cause these joints to just become completely solid.
Testing like this is vital for disease control, and with the ever more deadly blue tongue virus heading for Scotland, experts here say farmers are concerned.
They're worried. I suppose part of the problem is we can't categorically say don't worry. We cannot do that. Blue tongue virus might end up in Scotland this year, so we have to be realistic with them.
Scotland's chief vet is worried too about blue tongue and wants farmers to remain vigilant.
It could end up in Scotland, yes, it's probably inevitable that at some point we'll get it. What we would like to do is keep it out until we have a reliable vaccine that allows people to protect their own animals.
For 78-year-old Helen, a determination to defy the odds led her to hand-rear this lamb, which displayed low levels of the virus.
We're helpless because we can't do anything to help them, which is really, it's awful. But anyway, these make up for the, it helps a bit when you can get some of them to survive. So it's fairly healthy.
Yeah. After such a rough start to the year, Michael says Bluetongue would finish him off. He's hoping it keeps away, for now at least. Kevin Keane reporting Scotland.
Hundreds of staff at Dundee University are striking over the threat of jobs cuts as a result of a potential £30 million deficit. Members of the University and College Union argue that employees shouldn't be made to pay the price for management's mistakes. Dundee University says the action is premature and was voted for by less than 10% of the institution's staff. Louise Cowie has more.
What do we want? Job security! When do we want it?
The start of 15 days of industrial action at Dundee University. Members of the University and College Union are striking over the institution's funding crisis. The dispute began in November when the then Principal Professor Ian Gillespie told staff the uni was facing a potential £30 million deficit and that a reduction in staff was inevitable.
Cutting staff is not the solution. It will only end up impacting the excellence in research and teaching that we deliver here at the university, and will also impact the students' experience, which is what we're proud of and what brings students to Dundee.
Professor Gillespie resigned after the university defended a £7,000 business trip he took to Hong Kong with a colleague. The chair of the University Court, which governs the establishment, resigned with immediate effect last week. The interim principal has called for an external investigation to be carried out into failings. He says a recovery plan will be unveiled early next month and that striking staff have jumped the gun.
The issue for them is that we can't rule out compulsory redundancies, and we've acknowledged that. But I very much put it to them that it's really disappointing because it does seem premature, and also I'm not clear who's gaining anything from it. It's clearly not good for our current students. It's not helpful for the university's kind of mission. We're trying to make sure everyone understands we're going to be here for a long time.
More than 450 academic and support staff are striking Monday to Friday for the next 3 weeks, impacting lectures, workshops and library services.
Although obviously it's impacting us, at the end of the day it's still really important for the staff to make sure they have a job and they have security there.
The students are impacted negatively, but I'm also in favour of the teachers and the lecturers standing up for their rights.
I know a lot of people are worried. A lot of my friends are really worried about how the rest of their courses are going to go, and how the course will continue if the lecturers are being laid off.
Dundee University says it's not alone in experiencing financial difficulties and that other Scottish institutions are also struggling. Members of the Unison Union, which represents professional services staff at the university, will also be balloted on strike action from tomorrow. Louise Cowie reporting Scotland, Dundee.
Well, they're going to be talking more about this on the news at 7 over on the BBC Scotland channel shortly. Laura McKeever is presenting tonight. Who are you hearing from tonight, Laura?
We are indeed. We're going to widen the net on this one on higher education funding, Laura. We're going to hear from the Institute for Fiscal Studies, not just about what's going on in Dundee, but what's happening at other Scottish universities too with funding. And then we're going to transport everybody back to the 1950s to South Uist, when a priest earned the nickname of Father Rocket because he led the resistance to a government missile testing site there. All will be revealed. 7 o'clock.
What a story.
It really is. BBC Scotland channel and iPlayer.
Thank you, Laura. To some of the day's other stories now. The Scottish businessman who disappeared in Kenya has been found dead. Campbell Scott from Fife was attending a conference in Nairobi. He was a senior director at credit scoring firm FICO. His employer confirmed police have identified his body and say they are devastated by his death. The official cause of death of two sisters found in a river in Aberdeen was drowning, BBC Scotland has learned. Henrietta and Eliza Hushti, both 32 and part of a set of triplets originally from Hungary, disappeared on the 7th of January. Their bodies were found in the River Dee on the 31st of January, near where they were last seen alive. Police said it was not being treated as suspicious. Homes in Clydebank were evacuated and roads closed when a van containing fireworks was deliberately set on fire in the middle of the night yesterday. The van, which was parked in a driveway, exploded on Braes Avenue. There were no reported injuries. Police are appealing for information. And 1,000 people living in Glasgow are to be offered free public transport in what's been called a first-of-its-kind trial in Scotland. Councillors have approved £225,000 to offer concessionary travel to the residents as part of the upcoming budget. The study suggested the pilot could run for 9 weeks and recommended that people aged 22 to 59 be included, but the council's yet to confirm details. OK, let's get tonight's sport now with Lewis, and some really big news coming out of Ibrox today after a dramatic weekend.
Absolutely, a very dramatic weekend. We now know who will be taking over from Philippe Clement, so it's all go Ibrox. Yeah. Thanks very much, Laura. Hello there. Yes, well, another eventful 24 hours at Rangers, and I'm not sure many fans would have predicted this just a couple of days ago. Barry Ferguson here, the club's former captain, is the new head coach until the end of the season. He will be in the dugout for Wednesday's clash with Kilmarnock as the Ibrox board moved quickly to appoint a successor to Philippe Clement, who was sacked yesterday. Paul Barnes reports.
A legend returns. Barry Ferguson, who lived the dream as a Rangers player, arrives for work as head coach.
He was a captain, he's won trophies, he's a Rangers boy through and through.
I'm not one for kind of looking back away and looking back at ex-legends as players, and as manager, I don't think it really kind of works.
Well, it's the cliche into it, bring in a Rangers man, just try and get a wee bit of fight back in the team really.
There's not been a Rangers man in the team, and that's what the team's missing. So hopefully gets a bit of fight out of them, do you know what I mean? Because it's been shocking.
Rangers are champions!
Ferguson enjoyed incredible success over 2 spells at Ibrox. This just one of 15 trophies celebrated by the Scotland international. And despite not managing a club since leaving Alloa 3 years ago, he leads an old-look, new-look coaching team. Neil McCann, Billy Dodds and Alan McGregor, all serial trophy winners during their Ibrox playing careers, will be joined by existing assistant boss Issam Sharai. This was the final whistle on Philippe Clement's spell in charge. The Belgian survived one of the worst results in the club's history, a Scottish Cup exit to Queen's Park, but Saturday's 2-0 loss to St Mirren was the final straw. Impressive Europa League form bought some time, but a dismal run of domestic results spelled the end. And just hours before Ferguson's arrival at Rangers training ground, Clement left for the last time. Rangers say they'll make a permanent managerial appointment in the coming months, by which point the club could have new American owners.
If new ownership comes into the club, there'll be a whole overhaul of internally inside the club with regards to players, coaching staff, management. I think it'll be a complete change in the summer. But in this short-term period, I think that the fans just want a team on the pitch that's going to go and give 100%, get results. They've got this big European game in 10 days' time, so they have got something to still play for.
Can a man who enjoyed so many highs stabilise Rangers during a season of woe? Paul Barnes, reporting Scotland.
Well, our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin is at Ibrox and joins me live. Chris, there's really a dull moment at Rangers, who are now looking for their 7th permanent manager in 10 years. But even bigger changes could be on the way, which the supporters will hope will lead the club back to the top of Scottish football.
Yeah, this is a club, Lewis, once again in transition. A club looking for a new permanent manager, a club looking for a new sporting director, a club waiting for a review into its entire footballing operations, and a club, remember, we believe on the verge of a major takeover from an American consortium. So what's the thinking behind these interim appointments? Well, 2 things. Number 1, stability, and number 2, buying time. Stability on the pitch and buying time for this takeover to happen. The brief for those in charge now will be to claw back some ground on Celtic, to try and continue that European run, and try once again to put a smile back on the faces of the fans and give them some hope. Now, for the supporters, they will hope that takeover happens in time for a plan to be in place, a strategy backed by financial muscle to attract a major permanent manager. The fans will absolutely see the departure of Philippe Clement as some kind of progress, but they'll now be looking for signs for that progress to continue.
Certainly, well, a fascinating few months ahead. Chris McLaughlin, thank you. Now, the Scotland women's interim manager, Michael McArdle, is expecting his side to suffer without the ball when they face Netherlands in the Nations League tomorrow night. The national team lost their opening group game 1-0 against Austria and now face a side 14 places above them in the world rankings as they search for their first points of the campaign.
We expect to look forward to suffering without the ball and controlling the game without the ball, to give us those moments in the platform to then try and hurt Netherlands. So structurally tomorrow night is very important, to make sure that we give ourselves a chance to control the game without the ball and then have those moments going forward.
To Rugby Now in Scotland head coach Gregor Townsend says it won't be difficult to pick his players up for the final two matches of this year's Six Nations after Saturday's defeat to England. The Scots lost in dramatic fashion at Twickenham, Finn Russell's late missed conversion proving costly. It leaves Scotland with one win from 3 games ahead of matches against Wales and France, with their Six Nations hopes dashed earlier than many expected.
A lot of what we worked on and what we showed today, we've got to bring that out in the next 2 games, and there'll be tough challenges. I watched a lot of the Wales game today. They played very well, and we know we'll have to build on what we did today. And then there's Paris, which will be very tough. But how we played today away from home shows that we can create opportunities and score tries against a very good defence.
Yeah, still struggling to get over the end to that game at the weekend, Laura. Dramatic as it was painful, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just at the end there, wasn't it? But 2 games to go.
Exactly. We like to get our hopes up at times. We like to have them dashed.
Why
it's
not?
just the way it is.
Thank you, Liz.
Thanks, Laura.
Now, it is the tale of one young mum's dreams of becoming a country star, rooted in Glasgow's real-life music scene. Wild Rose is already a BAFTA-nominated film, but now it's been taken to the stage. It opens at the Royal Lyceum in Edinburgh in March, and our arts correspondent Polly McLean has been speaking to the cast and creators.
Never get too big, never get too heavy, never get too cool, you stop paying your dues, yeah.
She's the straight-talking country music singer from Glasgow who won the hearts of audiences in the film Wild Rose. Now Rosalind Harland is stepping out again in a new stage musical.
I had this character of Rosalind in my head back in like 2009, and it was very much before Taylor Swift, you know. Country was still the love that daren't speak its name. It was really cringy. And like, when I was growing up in Glasgow and I would go down to the Grand Ole Opry on a Saturday night, I was supposed to be at the SCCC, as it then was, watching E17 and Take That and stuff, but I just was obsessed with his music. It was everything to me.
It means everything to Rosalind too, and the line dancing, the Grand Ole Opry and the songs from the film are all transferred to the stage show. With Glasgow girl Dawn Sivright taking on the role of Rose and Blythe Duff playing her mother.
We love anything that is about big emotion. We love to laugh hard, we love to cry hard, we love to shout hard, and I think that country music encapsulates that in a way that's like, there's no shame. It's like, I get dumped,
yeah,
I'm bankrupt and I've got nowhere to live.
There's a song about it. Yeah, but I think Nicole has very cleverly managed to take the stage piece and give the feeling of the film, but actually give it something else. And you know, we've got incredible line dancing and movement, and we've got incredible band. You know, a band of 8 playing 14 instruments. So the actual cacophony of sound is just extraordinary. So I don't think the audience are going to be disappointed in that at all.
Polly McLean reporting Scotland.
And now Callum is here with the weather, and I was half expecting you to break into song or dance.
Well, we'll just stick to the Ceilidh dancing, usually spurred on by a drab or two, Laura.
Well, none of that in here.
Yes, but sunshine and rainbows was the name of the game today, and there'll be more of the same over the coming days. There was a wee taste of spring in the air, wasn't there? Both with the plant life and meteorologically speaking today. There's a satellite and radar, showers where you would expect in the west and northwest, but a few got right through to the east coast because the sun's higher in the sky. It's giving some energy to the land. Land-based thermals getting triggered. They'll get stronger as the spring comes in. Also an active trough has been pushing into central southern parts. We've had recent lightning, in fact, Darvel down to Newton Mearns, but that will belt on this evening, clear eastern areas. And then behind it, showery tomorrow. This feature on Wednesday, giving us a wee headache how far it gets inland. Generally, it'll be best in the north and northeast by then. So we've got that active trough still giving some downpours through into parts of Lothian and Fife before it departs the premises. Maybe a wee bit hail. Behind it, it clears up southern eastern areas. Eastern parts could get down to 0, 1 or 2 spots with a touch of frost. Not so in the west because a reload of heavy showers into the west and northwest, blustery winds too, maybe the odd rumble of thunder and some hail. Tomorrow, we'll have a relatively cloudy start, a trough pushing through with showers through the morning, best of the early brightness in the east and northeast. Behind it, well, the cloud will overturn, some sunny spells, but still a scattering of showers, maybe a wee bit hail mixed in there too. 8 to 9 degrees the numbers, maybe 10 in towards Murray, Aberdeenshire, where we'll have the best of the sunshine, the dry conditions. More frequent showers, northwest Highlands, Skye, the Western Isles and the Northern Isles. Again, some hail mixed in there too. Tomorrow evening, the showers still rattle in, but then as the winds ease off, they'll become confined to coastal areas with the clear skies turning cold, a frost for some of us, especially Highland, Grampian, not so in the southwest. Why? Well, we've got a front arriving here. The one that's giving us headaches, some more persistent rain pushing into west southern areas, central areas too, perhaps as far north as the central southern Highlands. Generally best on Wednesday, North Highland, the northeast and the Northern Isles with light winds and sunshine. It'll feel lovely. Through the week then, a build of pressure for Friday affords a good day then, but weak fronts chapping on the door by the weekend. That's you up to date on the weather front. Laura.
Thank you, Callum. Now tonight's main news again. Today marks 3 years since Russia invaded Ukraine. Western leaders have used the anniversary to show their support at an event in Kyiv. While here, the First Minister says Scotland stands in solidarity with Ukraine. Former Rangers captain Barry Ferguson is returning to the club as head coach until the end of the season after Philippe Clement was sacked following a Scottish Cup exit to Queen's Park and Saturday's 2-0 defeat to St Mirren. And a farmer in Ayrshire says he's been left devastated after a deadly disease not usually found here wiped out almost 2/3 of his newborn lambs. Chief Vet says an even more deadly virus called blue tongue is likely to cross the border this year. And that is Reporting Scotland for now. I will be here with your late news around 10:30 tonight. And remember to switch over. The news at 7 is coming up shortly on the BBC Scotland channel. Until then, from everyone on the team, do enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.